For the individual project, I've chosen the poem featured at the beginning of Chapter 10. This poem is A Word is Dead by Emily Dickinson, written in 1872. The reason I chose this poem is because even with its brevity, it contains great depth. The poem goes like this. A word is dead when it is said, some say. I say it just begins to live that day. Within the confines of these 6 lines of poetry, Dickinson tells of the many people's view of a word becoming stagnant, or completely defined rather than an ethereal idea when it is written or spoken. Then she goes on to tell the reader that she believes a word once spoken or written can take on a life of its own. Take the word hope, for instance. It could be said that this one word won President Obama his election. I like to think that words once written can become a world into their own and open a world of possibilities. Take the word fantasy. What comes to mind to me is things such as dragons and knights of the round. But for someone else, like my daughter, it could bring about visions of fairies dancing in the woods. Others could be goblins, demons, and magic. And yet still for others it could bring about a myriad of other thoughts and images to mind. Words like science fiction bring about another whole dimension and a subgenre of fantasy. The words written in some older science fiction have brought about scientific discoveries, such as the cell phone. My daughter enjoys hearing stories by my wife and I. So the creative portion of this is those stories. I told my daughter of how this 2-headed dragon kidnapped the fairy princess and how she was eventually rescued. The individual words of this story can open up a new world to my daughter, allowing her to see and hear the roars of the dragon. I hope that these words will gather a life of their own and make her imagination soar.